Imagine a world utterly alien, yet strangely familiar. A world without cities, without roads, without even the simplest of tools we take for granted. This was our world, 6.3 million years ago, a time when the first whispers of what it means to be human were just beginning to stir on the vast plains of Africa. Let's journey back, not just in time, but to the very dawn of our own consciousness. Our story begins with an ancestor, a creature we might call an early hominin. Let's call her Lucy, not the famous fossil, but a representative of her kind. She wasn't quite ape, not yet human. She walked upright, a revolutionary act that freed her hands, but for what? Her world was a relentless cycle of survival governed by two primal forces, hunger and fear. The sun rose, painting the savanna in hues of gold and orange, but this beauty was deceptive. It was a stage for life's brutal drama. By day, Lucy and her small band foraged. Their senses were their most vital tools. Every rustle in the tall grass, every shadow that flickered at the edge of their vision, could mean the difference between life and death. The air was thick with the scents of wild fruit, damp earth, and the ever-present odor of predators. Their diet was simple: fruits, roots, insects, and maybe, if they were lucky, the scavenged remains of another animal's kill. Their hands, now free from walking, were becoming more adept at digging, peeling, and carrying. These simple acts were the first lessons in a grand curriculum of dexterity that would one day lead to smartphones and spaceships. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, a different reality set in. Nightfall wasn't a time for rest, it was a time of terror. The world belonged to the hunters, the saber-toothed cats, the giant hyenas, the powerful predators whose eyes pierced the darkness. For Lucy's band, the only refuge was high in the branches of a tree, a precarious sanctuary. Huddled together, they listened to the symphony of the night, a chorus of growls, snaps, and cries that spoke of the constant, pressing danger. This pervasive fear was a powerful evolutionary catalyst. It sharpened their senses, fostered social bonds, and, most importantly, sparked a new kind of thinking. It wasn't just instinct anymore. It was memory. They remembered which watering holes were frequented by predators, which trees offered the best protection, which sounds signaled imminent danger. They began to anticipate, to plan. This was the nascent flicker of foresight, a cognitive leap that set them on a path away from their animal cousins. They started to communicate, not with words, but with gestures, grunts, and a shared understanding born from collective experience. A pointed finger towards a distant threat, a specific cry that meant climb. These were the building blocks of language. Then, one day, something extraordinary happened. A bolt of lightning strikes a dead tree, and a terrifying, beautiful new element enters their lives: fire. At first, it's an object of immense fear. It's hot, it's destructive, it consumes everything it touches. They watch from a safe distance, their minds struggling to comprehend this raw, untamable force. But curiosity, that uniquely powerful driver of intelligence, pulls them closer. One brave individual, perhaps driven by desperation or a flash of insight, might have grabbed a smoldering branch. Imagine the shock, the dawning realization. This terrifying force could be held, it could be moved. It kept the biting insects at bay. It provided a warmth that chased away the chill of the night. And most importantly, the predators, the terrors of the dark, were afraid of it. For the first time, Lucy's band had a weapon against the night. The fire became the center of their world. They learned to keep it alive, feeding it sticks and leaves. This simple act of tending a flame was a monumental responsibility. It required cooperation, planning, and a concept of the future. The fire became a new kind of social glue. Around its warm glow, the huddled group found more than just safety. They found a focal point for their community. The darkness was no longer an abyss of fear, but a backdrop to their shared space. It was here, in the flickering firelight, that the first true human societies were forged. The fire changed their diet. To accidentally dropping a piece of scavenged meat or a tough root into the embers would have led to a startling discovery. Cooking not only made food easier to chew and digest, but also unlocked vital nutrients. This nutritional boost was like rocket fuel for their developing brains. A larger, more complex brain requires a huge amount of energy, and cooked food provided it in abundance. This feedback loop: fire leads to better nutrition, which leads to a bigger brain, which leads to better control of fire, was one of the most critical accelerators of human evolution. With fire as their ally, they grew bolder. They could venture into new territories, stay active for longer, and defend themselves more effectively. The constant, paralyzing fear began to recede, replaced by a growing sense of control, of agency. They were no longer just reacting to their environment. They were beginning to shape it. The sparks of fire mirrored the sparks of ingenuity igniting in their minds. They started to see connections, to solve problems. A sharp stone wasn't just a rock. It could be used to butcher a carcass. A long stick wasn't just wood. It could be used to knock fruit from a high branch. This wasn't a sudden revolution. It was a slow, painstaking process unfolding over countless generations. But the foundation was laid. 6.3 million years ago, in a world defined by fear, Our ancestors stood at a profound crossroads. By embracing fire, they not only conquered the darkness but also ignited the flame of their own intelligence. They learned that the greatest dangers could also hold the greatest opportunities. It was a lesson in courage, curiosity, and cooperation that has echoed through the ages and resides within each of us today. The story of Lucy and her band is our story. It's the story of how we, against all odds, stepped out of the shadows and began our incredible journey to becoming human. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to the dawn of humanity. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into our incredible past. We'd love to have you in our community. Until next time, stay curious.